So on Friday morning, I woke up at about 5 o'clock. I got to the train station where I had a telephone interview with Toby Foster for his Bigger at Breakfast programme. That was at 6:20. Got on the train at 6:30 to arrive in London.
Now, 17-year-old Harry Carter represents Sheffield on the Youth Parliament, and earlier on this morning, I spoke to him just before he got on the train to London.
It was absolutely fantastic. It gave an opportunity for young people to put their views on a national stage. It was recognised by national media, it was recognised by many people in our communities, and it was recognised by politicians.
Are there any local issues you'll be bringing up?
Yeah, look, I mean, in any of those topics, a lot of them do have a local element to them, such as job opportunities, things like that. Also to do with the cuts happening to local authorities. We'll be talking about that, and I can draw on specific examples from Sheffield. But what we need to do is ensure that the cuts don't disproportionately affect young people. So cuts to education, cuts that will cause an increase in university tuition fees, cuts that will take away things perhaps such as a local area grant. We need to make sure that provisions that were there are still there but in a different form.
That's Harry Carter from Sheffield there talking to me on his way to the UK Youth Parliament meeting in London.
This year we debated 5 topics voted for by 2,500 young people across the country. 3 of the most interesting for me were sex and relationship education, job opportunities and university tuition fees. This is because locally I've done work surrounding all these areas. University tuition fees, I have been a campaign representative for the national campaign. Job opportunities, I sent a letter to the coalition government making them recognise young people and ensuring that we don't become a jobless generation. And for sex and relationship education, I took part in a debate on Radio 5 Live advocating the need for compulsory sex and relationship education. The debates as a whole were very engaging, and the event was exciting for all young people and the kind of thing that many young people need to be a part of. During the proceedings, myself and 2 other MIPs had to leave early to go for a meeting over at Portcullis House with Tim Loughton, who is a minister in the Department for Education. As some of you may know, I am part of a campaign which is to do with shaping healthcare for disadvantaged young people. And an aspect of that is trying to get a young carers card into schools across the country, but first aiming to get it into schools across the region. And we were having a meeting with Tim Loughton to see how the government could support us in doing that and in achieving that goal. Tim said that as a result of that meeting, he will send a letter to schools reminding them that they've got a legal requirement to have a teacher who is trained to deal with young carers and trained to support them. He also said that he will emphasise to local authorities that even though their budgets have to be cut, they must protect services for vulnerable young people. He also said that working on the Young Carers Bill, which I will be supporting, which is Barbara Keeley's private members bill, he said that although he won't be able to support it because it's a private members bill from the opposition, he will work with Sarah Tether, who's another minister in the Department for Education, and Barbara when such an opportunity will arise for a similar bill to be proposed by the government. All in all, the meeting was fantastic. He gave us a lot of support for the campaign and was really enthusiastic about getting involved. On our return to the chamber after lunch, John Bercow introduced a few MPs who had come to watch the proceedings and who had an interest in the Youth Parliament. Of particular note were Dennis Skinner, John Prescott and the Higher Education Minister, John Hayes. Once he'd introduced those members of Parliament and members of the House of Lords, we got on to discussing our final debate topics, which were the war in Afghanistan and concessionary fares for young people on public transport. I was very fortunate enough to sort of catch the speaker's eye and given the opportunity to speak about the war in Afghanistan.
Somebody from Yorkshire and Humberside. Who have we got standing up from Yorkshire and Humberside? Yes, the young man here.
Harrison Carter, NYP for Sheffield. It's important to remember that many of those fighting and losing their lives in Afghanistan are themselves young people and young adults. They're our friends, our family, our neighbours, and our support for them is undoubtedly unwavering. However, with hundreds of our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, cousins, neighbours and friends losing their lives, and with those surviving being utterly transformed, and with the government spending billions on this in a time when we are facing savage financial cuts domestically, there is a need to ask ourselves 2 questions. Is this war justifiable? And is the input beneficial to both the citizens of Afghanistan and the citizens of Britain? And right now the answer to both of these questions appears to be no.
Last year's event set a precedence for the kind of participation young people should take in politics. This year, continuing with that spirit, the UK Youth Parliament debated the topical subjects important to young people. We were empowering young people, giving them the facts, and engaging all young people in a new generation of politics.